And we're back with more exciting adventures of the Incredible Hokes. I'm Chris.
I am Mark.
And I seem drained as we just did a 25 minute, rather, it felt like an hour, 25-minute tour de force on The Last Jedi. So having said that, it's time to take down a movie that is coming, it's now this week on Video On Demand. It'll be on Blu-ray soon in the next month or so.
Yeah, next, 3 weeks, I
So,
think.
and it'll probably start getting some award nominations for technical stuff and things like that. Because it was technically amazing, which I'm sure no matter what you felt of the movie.
Oh, yeah, technically. Yeah. Well, which movie are we talking about?
Well, I was getting to that.
Right.
Blade Runner 2049. Terrible title, but I felt a really good movie. But that might be just my opinion. What did you think of Blade Runner 2049?
Speaking of the title, by the way, remember Total Recall had that spin-off they did on cable. It was like Total Recall.
Series, right?
Yeah, it was like Total Recall 2044 or something like that. So that was also a Philip K. Dick thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that inspired or informed on that
I don't know. I'm not
title or whatever.
I'm not a big fiction reader or science fiction reader. I just watch movies.
Well,
So I couldn't tell you.
that might have been consistent with
Maybe
his work.
It's an awkward
so,
title, though.
Anyway, I'm not a big fan
If that's
of
the
that.
case, that Phil Dick likes awkward titles because I just think it's an awkward title.
Yeah, sometimes just make it Blade Runner 2. We've said before, just number sequels because we just can't keep up. Like Thor 3, I don't remember Ragdoll, whatever it's called, Rag Your Rock, whatever it is.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, that.
Ragnarok.
It's just Thor 3 to me.
Yeah.
All
Blade
right,
Runner.
Blade Runner
What'd you think?
2049. I thumbs it down and gave it 2 stars. So I made this guy really unhappy.
We haven't talked about it. All I did was raise an eyebrow. All I've done so far is go.
Technically, it's a well-made movie. I mean, as far as the cinematography is fine. Even the score was trying to be that Vangelis kind of score.
It's not Vangelis. It's Vangelis.
Vangelis.
Okay.
Yeah. From the original.
Yeah.
Blade Runner. So I thought that was all fine. The first thing that got me was it's too long on its premise. Okay.
I'm giving him side eye right now.
It was too long, and for its simple premise. All right. And the second thing that bothered me was it dwelled heavily on non-essential plot items. I can give you examples. And the third thing that bothered me about it was it had some strange conversations that was like, what does this help? That was an odd way to do this to get where we're trying to go. For example, when Deckard and Kay actually meet, Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling's characters, that it was almost like Harrison Ford said, no, you just can't have him just show up and start asking me questions. I got to have a moment here. And there's like this whole 12-minute sequence of them running around Deckard fighting and all that. It was just such a silly, because then they're like, oh, I guess we're through fighting now. All right, now I guess you want me to buy you a beer? All right, great. It was just so awkward. It just seemed like it was too obvious that Harrison Ford, hey, this script is kind of, Deckard doesn't have a whole lot to do. All right, we'll add an action sequence. That bothered me. In terms of the too long, if it could have been tighter edit, somehow that would have helped, I think. And examples of things that they dwelled too long on. Do we need a 6-minute virtual reality foreplay scene? I don't understand how that added to the plot, other than, I guess,
Whoa.
I don't really, whatever. But
the 6-minute virtuality
foreplay scene, the Milwaukee.
You didn't understand. Well, that's the wrong word. I know you understood it.
Okay.
I retract that.
All right.
You didn't buy into that. You didn't what do you mean unnecessary?
It's not. It wasn't vital to the plot.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, we already know that he was in love with his AI.
We'll come back to it.
Girlfriend.
We'll go back
so
to
we
it.
already know that. The guy failed his test. He's a replicant, and he failed his test. Remember, so he's now he's on the run. Well, he needs to be on the run. There needs to be urgency there. No. We've got plenty of time to go make whoopee with my AI girlfriend. It's like, no. You need to be, the urgency needs to be, I got to haul ass before the human cops come along and terminate me. Or other Blade Runners terminate me because I've gone, rogue. It's more of a, it needed to be a sense of urgency on that scene. It needed us to be moving. That's my point.
Then there's no point in even like reviewing this any further because that's key and integral to the difference. If you watch Blade Runner for the plot, like the ABCs and mechanics of a plot, like he did this and that led to this, and that is not what the Blade Runner first one is. The second one's doing the same thing. It's about mood and tones and ideas and playing with those ideas and feelings. It's not about the mechanics of a plot, act 1, act 2, act 3, plot point 1, plot point 2, mid-break, inciting incident. That is not Blade Runner. That is not Blade Runner. So if you, through that scene, were going like, well, he needs to be on the run because the plot device now is that he needs to be. That's fucking not Blade Runner. You're asking it to be a dog when it's a cat. So then of course our review is going to be not even remotely different. I mean, you're remotely the same. You're fucked on principle.
Now the moodiness and the atmosphere.
Okay,
they
first off,
did
hang
a
on.
good job of matching what was in the original.
Yeah, right.
I'll concede that. But the first film had it's like a.
Did you watch Blade Runner the first one for the detective story angle of it?
But that's what it is.
And that's what you watch it for.
The story is a film noir-ish,
Did you watch Step Brothers for the plot? Did you watch the movie Step Brothers for the plot?
Oh, Step Brothers for the plot.
Did you watch the Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly because you wanted to get through the plot? You wanted to see it all worked out. Did you watch?
Well, to me, if there's not a story there, I mean, you might have some laughs, but I'm pretty consistent. If you don't give me a story, I don't give you a thumbs up.
Of course we didn't like this. There's some movies that's just a framework into making it a movie. I mean, there's some movies that's not, the plot is not what we're really here for. 2001. Did you watch 2001: Space Odyssey for the plot? For the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 aspect of it?
Yeah, I wanted to know what was going on.
And that's what makes it great to you?
Yeah, I wanted to know what the heck's going on. I remember our VHS copy going out with like 30 minutes to go, right in the middle of the Stargate sequence, and going, what's going to happen to the astronaut?
Oh my God!
That plot is what makes you care about that.
Oh my gosh, that is not applicable to Blade Runner, not applicable to 2001. I mean, you're the first person I've ever met in my life that would say they watched 2001 for the plot of it. That doesn't even make sense. Of course you didn't like Blade Runner 2049. I don't know how you like Blade Runner 1 then. I don't know how you like 2001 if you watch it for the plot.
That's a great movie.
That movie sucks balls on plot.
It's a very simple.
Did you see Tree of Life?
Tree of Life, the Terrence Malick
Yeah, did you watch that movie?
Yeah.
Did you watch that movie?
Yeah.
Did you like that movie?
Yeah, marginally, yeah.
Did you call it having a plot? Did it have an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3?
It was an experimental piece. It did have a plot, but it was very it was uneven. I like that midsection there where it kind of had the Brad Pitt.
I don't even know how to respond to this. Okay, so Blade Runner 2049 to me, I don't even know where to go with this because it's
I didn't mean to throw a curve.
That's what it's been clear to me why we don't agree. And there's like, if you're looking at a painting and I see something and I'm like, man, that is like the essence of human, good versus evil, the nuance of what I feel at certain times, and the blues bring out that loneliness. And if you're like, it's a vase, then we can't talk about it. I know you're more complex than that. I'm not saying you're simple. I'm not saying that. But if you look at it and go, it's a vase, and I say all the other stuff, conversation over. So if you look at Blade Runner 2049, I'm like, well, when they had the sex scene, and I'm doing that exaggerated version.
Right.
I'm not making fun of you. If they do the sex scene, well, they didn't really have much. They should be on the run by that point. I'm like, well, that's not what that scene's about. That's not a plot scene. That's not a.
Well, you look at a movie like Minority Report, where Tom Cruise, and there's that moment where like his buddies having to turn on him, like, hey, don't run. And he's like, well, everybody runs. And that kind of urgency moment, that when he realized, like, okay, I've just failed my test.
Well, that was a plot movie.
It was like it needed to be like, okay, if I'm going to run, it needed to be urgency. Just stopping for this very... It's like, well, I get the technical and the CGI.
Here is somebody...
And the eroticism of the scene and all that. It's like, yeah, but it makes... But I'm sitting there going, but this story-wise makes no sense. You should be absolutely trying to get the hell out of here.
He, at this point, is conflicted. He doesn't know if he's... He knows he's not real, but he may be of a real birth.
Right.
So he doesn't know who he is in this world right now. And then he has love and emotions for something that's completely artificial.
Yeah.
So when he has the love scene at this point where it was a moment of weakness, when he has his love scene, when he connects with something real, but through her, he's making love to the AI more so than the real girl.
Right.
So he's trying to connect with something artificial. So there's all kinds. I can't say that scene means one thing. Those things are happening.
Right.
And you interpret different emotions out of it.
Sure.
I took away, it was a scene of beauty. It was a freaking beautiful scene to me. I mean, it was beautiful aesthetically because the AI kept having to re-render herself to match the other girl, and it started looking like a third girl. Like they would blend and become this third look. And it was artistically, from a special effects point of view, it was amazing, but on an emotional level, there's all kinds of things going on there, and it was at a moment of weakness. And I totally bought into that. And that, to me, is the essence of why we differ. You're wisely on the run, and to me, that was expression of one of the weakest points for the protagonist.
Yeah.
So right there, that's it. There's nothing else to talk about.
Well, I'm reminded of Mad Max Fury Road. Remember I watched that, and I was like, and I was relating my experience and how. I remember talking about how far into the movie I was, and you're like, you still weren't into the movie at that point? And I'm like, no, and I just totally didn't care, and it was kind of a similar thing where technically it was such a well-made movie from a technical standpoint, but story-wise, I was just like, guys, you gotta, you have to kind of hit some basics story-wise to make me care one way or the other,
I totally bought into it.
I thought that movie failed to do that.
I totally bought into it. I thought it was deep. I thought it was introspective. I thought it was that kind of visionary filmmaking that we just don't get much anymore of. It was like visionary, like the first Blade Runner. It was visionary, like Apocalypse Now. It went down rabbit trails of exploring themes that most Hollywood, Warner Brothers Studios movies will not explore. And it's kind of like, No Country for Old Men is a good movie, but then that last 10 minutes or so, to me, is what makes it ethereal. It makes it beyond just a good movie. That last 10 minutes is what puts it in the visionary spectrum. Gone Baby Gone, the Ben Affleck movie, Casey Affleck movie, is this procedural, but then the last part of it when he goes through where he's not going to turn the kid over and blah blah blah, blah, that goes to a whole nother level of emotion and themes and things like that. So for that reason, I buy totally into it. I just bought into what Ryan Gosling's Kay was going through, and the scene where he sees the giant billboard of this thing that he has so much love for, and then it becomes clear to him that he is artificial, and but he still has a chance to do something real. He goes and saves Deckard, and I bought all that stuff. I bought into all that stuff. To me, I have a 3-way tie right now, but it'll probably be Blade Runner 2049 is my favorite movie of the year. I mean, it's just...
Yeah.
It was beautiful on multiple levels. I have a 3-way tie right now. I can't decide. It'll be Blade Runner, but my B and C are Kong Skull Island and The Disaster Artist, which...
Okay.
Anyway, which I loved for completely selfish reasons. I mean, it fed into a whole
right.
fetish thing. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, there's no reason to argue about it. I was expecting a good old fashioned Hokes argument, but there's no room for it because you had a problem with the plot.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Vase, duality of man.
Yeah.
You saw a vase, and I was.
Hopefully, at least while we may not agree, hopefully I'm articulate enough to where you can see where I'm coming from in terms of the way.
Well, people that see movies your way will agree with you, and people see movies my way will agree with me.
And I understand that some films are a little more. They lean. They're going to lean more on atmosphere. I'm not unaware of that, and I'm not even against that. Because certainly Blade Runner, the first one, has a lot more moodiness and atmosphere than your average. Certainly for its day, for a sci-fi film of its day, it really leaned in on that kind of stuff.
Right.
And that was part of its charm. But to me, I mean, it was that film noirish detective story in a sci-fi setting. Mm-hmm. That was the story I'm following. It had a solid foundation. This movie, spends 5 minutes and we're looking at bees, and you're like, okay, it's like I get it. People that live in Vegas that survived, honey is the only food on the planet that does not spoil. So it's like I get it, but that's kind of an odd thing to dwell on, movie. What's this got to do with us?
Okay. Let me ask you this. In closing, I know we go 20 minutes on this.
Oh, yeah.
In closing, you're telling me that you, for all these years, have had 2001 in your top 10 movies of all time because of the plot.
Well, yeah.
Because of the plot. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 of 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick.
Well, I mean,
has been in your top 10 movies of all time for as long as I remember you watching it because of the plot.
Well, it's not like to me 2001 does not play out like that documentary A Man with a Camera, where it was like a series. It was like
demo reel, you mean?
The Russian town.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like a day in a life and different images kind of edited together, and it's very avant-garde. This was kind of it's a story, but it's told in a very. I mean, it takes its time, and it has a huge time jump too, from like Dawn of Man to Space Age. So, but still, there's a story there, and like what's going on? What did we find on the moon? Okay, why did this signal go to the Jupiter? Okay, that's a mystery. I'm intrigued. Where's this going? I'm following that. And then, on the way to watching Bowman and Poole investigate that mystery, the computer tries to kill them. What's that all about? So I'm invested.
I can't. I don't even know how to respond to that. If I judge 2001 on plot, it's probably the worst fucking movie ever made. It's so fucking bad if you judge it that way. It's fucking boring nonsense if you watch it that way. So I can't even get my mind around that. Well, it's nonsense if you watch it that way.
It's almost like, I guess what I'm saying is if you tell, it's okay to tell a simple story, and that's fine. And 2001 is like as simple as you can get.
Yeah.
But it does it in such a breathtaking and innovative way.
But what, for the audience's pleasure here, what's funny is you judge 2001 Blade Runner, or 2001 and Blade Runner 2049 on plot. I am like, no, those movies are experiences, are emotion, moods, tone.
Okay.
But yet you love Fantasia and Man with the Camera, and I fucking hate those movies. Now sort that one out.
Yeah,
because you genuinely love Man with the Camera, and you genuinely love Fantasia.
Yeah, I own them both.
I would rather shoot myself in the face than watch either one of those two movies. They are so boring to me. Like Fantasia is like could be the film negative could be burned, and I will never miss it. You know what I mean? But explain that shit.
Yeah, they're both in my video library. Both, that's true.
But you see my point?
No, it is. There's an irony there, yeah.
So I don't get to sort that one out. They take a psychologist to sort that one out because.
But I like that director that did Blade Runner 20. Villanueva,
something like that.
He did a movie called Arrival in 2016. I liked it. It was simple.
He did
Prisoners. Did he do Prisoners?
Yes, and he did.
I like that one too.
Sicario.
It's on my to watch list.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah.
You gotta stay with it though.
Yeah.
Sicario. The ending. I'm just saying, you just gotta stay with it. Just let it happen.
Right.
That's all I can say. So, all right.
Okay.
So he doesn't like Blade Runner 2001. I mean, he doesn't like. Fuck. Let me start over. You don't like Blade Runner 2049, but you do like 2001. I like both of them, but you do like Fantasia and Man with the Camera, and I don't like those. So for you, armchair psychologist, sort that out because consistency's out the window here. I should love those. You should hate those. I don't understand. I'm more confused now. This review did not go the way I anticipated. And speaking of being confused, let's see.